Top 10 Worst Weather Disasters of 2022. Blistering summer heat broke records in drought-stricken China, threatening lives and food production. In the United States, drought and sea level rise clashed at the mouth of the historically low Mississippi River. And in South Africa, climate change made rainfall that triggered deadly floods heavier and twice as likely to occur. Before moving forward, if you are new on our channel, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for future interesting videos. 1. A summer of flooding. The summer series of floods started off in Yellowstone National Park in June, when extreme rainfall and rapidly melting snow washed out roads and bridges in the park, causing significant damage to the nearby town of Gardner, Montana, at the park's entrance. Authorities had to rescue more than 100 people from the floods. The year also brought several 1,000-year rainfall events. A 1,000-year rainfall event is one that is so intense it's only seen on average once every 1,000 years under normal circumstances. But extreme rainfall is becoming more common as the climate crisis pushes temperatures higher. Warmer air can hold more moisture, which loads the dice in favor of historic rainfall. Deadly flooding swept through eastern Kentucky and around St. Louis in July after damaging, record-breaking rainfall in a short period of time. California's Death Valley, after a years-long dry spell, saw its rainiest day in recorded history. Meanwhile, down south, parts of Dallas, Texas, got an entire summer's worth of rain in just 24 hours in August, prompting more than 350 high-water rescues. 2. Tonga volcano eruption and global tsunami. When the Tonga Ha'apai volcano erupted in January 2022, it sent tsunami waves around the world. The blast itself was so loud it was heard in Alaska, some 6,000 miles away. In Tonga's capital, the afternoon sky turned pitch black as heavy ash clouded the city and caused significant damage along the western coast of the main island of Tongatapu. The eruption also injected a huge cloud of ash and sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere, more than 30 kilometers, around 19 miles, above sea level, according to data from NASA satellites. Though experts initially believed this event was too small to cause a global impact on climate, further analysis found that the eruption actually released an immense plume of water vapor into the Earth's stratosphere, enough to fill 58,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools. This will likely lead to more global warming at ground level for the next few years. 3. Rivers hit record lows. Northern Italy saw its worst drought in more than 70 years. The 400-mile River Po hit a record low due to an unusually dry winter and limited snowpack in the Alps, which feeds the river. The drought impacted millions of people who rely on the Po for their livelihood and roughly 30% of the country's food, which is produced along the river. Also fed by winter snowpack in the Alps along with spring rains, Germany's Rhine River dropped to exceptionally low levels in some areas, disrupting shipping in the country's most important inland waterway. Months of little rainfall meant cargo ships began carrying lighter loads and transport costs soared. Meanwhile, in the U.S., extreme drought spread into the central states, and gauges along the Mississippi River and its tributaries plummeted. Barge traffic moved in fits and starts as officials dredged the river. The Mississippi River dropped so low that the Army Corps of Engineers was forced to build a 1,500-foot wide levee to prevent Gulf of Mexico saltwater from pushing upstream. 4. Hurricane Nicole. Hurricane Nicole was the first hurricane to hit anywhere in the U.S. during the month of November in nearly 40 years. The rare late-season storm also marked the first time that a hurricane made landfall on Florida's east coast in November. Although Nicole was only a Category 1, it had a massive wind field that stretched more than 500 miles, coupled with astronomically high tides that led to catastrophic storm surges. Homes and buildings collapsed into the ocean in Volusia County, with authorities scrambling to issue evacuation warnings. Hurricane Nicole flooded streets, destroyed power lines, and killed at least 5 people. The storm came just 42 days after deadly Category 4 Hurricane Ian wreaked havoc on the west coast of Florida. 5. Europe's deadly heat wave. Europe experienced its hottest summer on record in 2022 by a wide margin. While the heat kicked off early in France, Portugal, and Spain, with the countries reaching record warmth in May, the most significant heat came in mid-July, spreading across the UK and Central Europe. The UK, in particular, topped 40 degrees Celsius, 104 degrees Fahrenheit, for the first time on record. Stephen Belcher, the UK Met Office's chief scientist, said this would have been virtually impossible in an undisrupted climate. Throughout Western Europe, the heat waves gravely increased wildfire risk, with one London fire official noting that the 40-degree day led to an unprecedented day in the history of the London Fire Brigade. 6. The West's water crisis. The past few years have been a reality check for Western states that heavily rely on the Colorado River for water and electricity. Plagued by decades of overuse and a climate change-fueled drought, the river that serves 40 million people in 7 western states and Mexico is draining at an alarming rate. The water levels in its 2 main reservoirs, Lake Mead and Lake Powell, have plunged rapidly, threatening the drinking water supply and power generation. In late July, Lake Mead, the country's largest reservoir, bottomed out and has only rebounded a few feet off record lows. Its rapidly plunging levels revealed human remains from the 1970s and a sunken vessel from World War II. The federal government implemented its first ever mandatory water cuts this year for states that draw from the Colorado River, and those cuts will be even deeper starting in January 2023. 7. Catastrophic flooding in Pakistan. Floods caused by record monsoon rain and melting glaciers in Pakistan's northern mountain regions claimed the lives of more than 1,400 people this summer, with millions more affected by clean water and food shortages. More than a third of Pakistan was underwater, satellite images showed, and authorities warned it would take months for the floodwaters to recede in the country's hardest-hit areas. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said the Pakistani people are facing a monsoon on steroids, referring to the role that the climate crisis had in supercharging the extreme rainfall. The hard-hit provinces Sindh and Balochistan saw rainfall of more than 500% of average during the monsoon season. Pakistan is responsible for less than 1% of the world's planet-warming emissions, yet is the 8th most vulnerable nation to the climate crisis, according to the Global Climate Risk Index. 8. Hurricane Ian. Hurricane Ian was a Category 4 storm when it made landfall in southwest Florida in late September and left a trail of destruction from the Caribbean to the Carolinas. Insured losses from Ian are expected to reach up to $65 billion, according to recent data from reinsurance company Swiss Re. The storm first struck Cuba before undergoing rapid intensification from a tropical storm to a Category 3 hurricane in just 24 hours. Something scientists told CNN is part of a trend for the most dangerous storms. That same week, Super Typhoon Noru in the Philippines grew from the equivalent of a Category 1 hurricane to a Category 5 overnight as residents around Manila slept, catching officials and residents unaware and unable to prepare. Hurricane Ian's size and intensity allowed it to build up a storm surge higher than any ever observed in southwest Florida, devastating Fort Myers and Cape Coral. Ian killed more than 100 people, most by drowning. It will likely be one of the costliest hurricanes on record not only in Florida, but in the U.S. 9. California wildfire. The wildfire, referred to as the Mosquito Fire, is said to be California's largest wildfire this year, scorching 76,781 acres, 31,072 hectares. It had forced at least 11,000 people to evacuate from Forestville, Volcanoville, Georgetown, and other communities between Sacramento and Lake Tahoe. Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, Administrator Dean Criswell said that climate change has fueled ever larger and more frequent fires, adding we simply cannot shy away from the work required to mitigate future risk. 10. Floods in Louisiana. The state of Louisiana has been struck with a series of devastating floods in the past several years, culminating in the catastrophic event of 2022. Louisiana has always been vulnerable to floods due to its low-lying geography, and this vulnerability was exacerbated by the high levels of rainfall experienced in the spring and summer of 2022. The heavy rain caused severe flooding in many areas, leading to widespread destruction and displacement. The National Weather Service reported that some locations received over 20 inches of rain during the course of the storm, far exceeding the average for this time of year. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for future videos. Thanks for watching.